And I can definitely tell you that every senior I've ever had has always at one point wanted to fire me multiple times. Because I was a pain in the ass. Are you kidding? When you were 5 years old, I wanted to fire you.
Yes, I know.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Business Newsroom. This is Neil Winteregg here with Matterhorn Business Development, and I am joined again, as always, by Dr. Greg Winteregg, the CEO of Matterhorn Business Development. He is also an author, and if you have not picked up the book, be sure you do. Ding! And today we want to talk a little bit about, I want to talk about with you,
yes,
company culture. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is something that we get asked about a lot.
Yes.
And company culture and kind of like leadership and the intensity that goes with that. Because I see a lot of news articles where people get a little, hold on to your pants, a little upset when somebody gets a little frustrated or, you know, they really want to get a product done, they really want to finish something, and they get intense.
Yeah.
And
in business, things can get intense. Pressure can come down, there's deadlines. Quotas have to be met. Money has to be made. Yeah, I mean, it can be intense.
And we love having fun doing those things.
Yes.
And sometimes the most fun you've had is when you're up at 2 a.m. trying to get something done.
Yeah.
But it is intense during it.
No question.
But you feel good the next day when you get through it.
Yes.
And so I kind of wanted to talk about culture and this leadership that goes on, because I feel like this day and age, true leaders kind of get attacked a little bit more than they should. I think of somebody like Tom Brady, for instance.
Yeah.
Who you can't stand necessarily.
Not my favorite.
We're Packers fans.
Not my favorite guy.
Not your favorite guy, but
damn, is he effective.
He's really good, and I'm always impressed by what he does. Now,
he's got, what, 5 Super Bowls?
6 now, I think,
6.
right? Yeah. So
that's
we don't
crazy.
Even know. But the thing is that like a year or two ago, I remember he was on the sidelines. They were having a rough game. He was yelling at the players. He was yelling at his offensive line. He was yelling at the receivers. And he was up in their face. And they came back and they won. And, you know, and then it was like, oh, well, Tom Brady's yelling at people.
Right.
And he was being compared to other sports players who yell at people because they're annoying and they don't get their way.
Right.
And it has to be their way. And they want the
whine
ball.
And
they whine and complain and they yell when they're losing. They yell.
Right.
And there's 2 different types of company culture there.
Oh, that's a very good point.
And so I wanted to talk about that with you because as a leader, I am not going to follow somebody who is sitting at their desk.
Right.
I will follow you to the gates of hell if you're leading the charge.
Yeah.
But if you're going to sit there and complain and pout that you're not leading the charge, go somewhere else.
Right.
And so there's 2 different things there. Like they can both be intense, but one is intense for constructive purposes.
Yes.
And one is kind of intense because it's not going the way they want it to.
Right. So then, and I've seen Brady do this, and then there's also been debate about, well, is there a rift between Brady and Belichick?
Right.
And are the Patriots beginning to implode and all of this because they see just
and
a little...
And then they won 2 more Super Bowls.
Yeah, exactly. So, but then, you know, there's other players that are intense, but they're just walking around complaining because nobody's throwing them the ball.
Right.
Or they didn't get enough minutes in the basketball game, or and so it's like there's an intensity.
You've got your Tom Brady's who are the leaders, and then you've got like your Odell Beckham Jr.'s who complain.
It's all about me.
And then he signs his big contract, and then he whines that he doesn't get the ball, and then they have to trade him.
Right.
And it's like, well, you didn't have to sign that contract for all that money, but well, I guess you did because it's all about you, not about the team. So there's different viewpoints that have to be there.
So then that's the main point, is Brady's intense about winning. Yeah. And then other people are intense because I'm not getting enough attention. I'm not getting the ball. I'm not getting my numbers. This is a contract year for me. Right. I need more touches, and it's all about me versus like Brady's intense about production.
About getting to the goal, the objective.
Right. And so for me, it's okay to be intense as long as you're pushing towards production. You're pushing towards something creative. Now, this happens in companies. Yep. I mean, you have your alpha males, and this is no slight against females, but it's like sales is intense, and you have quotas, and there's production bonuses and games, and that's all good as long as it's pushing towards a constructive purpose for the company.
Right, and I can definitely tell you that every senior I've ever had has always at one point wanted to fire me multiple times. because I
Are
was
you
a
kidding?
pain
When
in
you
the
were
ass.
5 years old, I wanted to fire you.
Yes, I know. I wanted you to fire me.
It almost worked. There were laws against it, though.
But like every senior I've had, I've always clashed with.
Yeah.
I've always had problems with. We've had arguments.
Yeah.
But you know what? They would never wanted me to go anywhere else.
Yep.
They would have always wanted me to be their junior.
Yeah.
Because I always produced.
Yeah.
I always hit the quotas.
Yeah.
I always kept everybody else producing.
Yeah, and if you left, I'll bet they wanted you back.
Every time.
Right.
Absolutely.
So there is that intensity.
So there's that intensity,
So,
and you can have it, and at times you need to have it.
so then I guess that what I like about this discussion is company culture isn't always like sweetness and light. It's not always roses and honey. You know,
Right.
it's like it's okay for it to be intense, but now what direction is the intensity going?
Correct, and that's
is
the thing.
intensity
Is that
pushing towards production, or is it destroying
is the
group's
intensity
morale?
there to lead?
Yes.
Or is the intensity there to destroy
Exactly.
and harm?
Exactly.
And I think that that's why the difference between Brady and somebody else like Odell, it's just a leadership factor.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that that's really what it comes down to, is that ability and that quality to lead. And sometimes a leader has to be able to get people to get the work done.
Yep.
And inspire them to get the work done, to be at their best.
Yeah, and this reminds me of a time in my dental practice, and I had one staff member who was a good producer but was completely toxic. And so I had to like make a decision, like there is this production, but then there's this toxicity there that wrecks the morale. And so one day I was done and I'm like, fine, you're gone. And I replaced her with temps that really didn't know that much about what they were doing. And that month we went up by 20%. I went 20% beyond my best month in 11 years by just removing my number one producer and just getting the toxicity out of the culture.
Yeah.
So for me, this is a discussion about, is the intensity to create, or is the intensity to destroy, corrupt, upset, and cause trouble and gather all this attention, and now everybody's upset, and this is how we're going to get even with management and all of that.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with intensity, I'm fine with yelling, but if it's going in the right direction. But just to like cause an upset, that toxicity needs to be gone.
Right.
It really does, because it just destroys the morale and the culture.
And there's a big difference between me or somebody yelling at somebody to get something done and make the target, making the production, and then once that's over with, going out, having dinner, drinking a couple beers, and telling war stories, versus doing that every day, all the time.
Well, versus going out to dinner and like complaining about your senior and complaining about accounting or complaining about marketing, but that's not creative. That's just complaining. And so there's this fine line that producers walk, and there is this intensity when the pressure comes down, but then is the intensity to create or destroy.
Yeah.
So
and I think athletes, I think that world of athletics is a very good parallel.
It's perfect.
Because it is a business.
Yep.
And you get the athletes complaining about the owners, and the owners complaining about the athletes, and pretty much both of them are doing stuff to piss each other off anyway. You know, it's like, oh, well, they don't honor their word in the contract, so I'm not going to. But then you signed, and then it's just a whole ridiculous.
So for me, the bottom line of this discussion is it's good to have fun at work.
Absolutely.
Like the book, but then there's times when it's not going to be fun and it is going to be intense. That's okay, as long as it's not destroying.
And this goes back a little bit to the video that we did recently about the employee engagement.
Yes.
You know, if you try and just be like, hey guys, it'd be really good if you could get that done today.
Right.
It's not going to get done.
No.
But if I come up to you and I'm like, excuse me, what's happening here? Because you said this was going to be done a week ago and it's still not done.
Exactly.
I need to have this done now.
Yeah.
What's the holdup?
Yeah, I need this done before you go home tonight.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with doing that if you told me it was going to be done a week ago and you keep stringing me on, because I will say that to a prospect.
Yep.
Hey, you're going to buy this from me. Why are you jerking me around? I don't understand. Am I missing something here? Like, I will turn up the intensity if somebody's not doing what they said that they're going to do, to push through that.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong
with that.
And unfortunately, we are getting to the point where maybe not in the near future there will be something wrong with it. You're not allowed to say that to your employees.
Right.
I mean, it's getting pretty out of hand. But anyway, that was a unique thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Good.
From a company perspective.
Love it.
It's okay to have some intensity, and in fact, it's good for the group to actually have a thing that you're striving for, a goal that you're trying to make, it has to have importance behind it.
Yep.
And people will love that.
Yep.
Well, that brings us to the end of this business newsroom. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something about company culture and about yourself. Feel free to get in touch with us about our mentoring packages and stuff that we do. This is some of the topics that we actually cover with our clients. So click down below to find more information about how to do that. And
go to www.funatworkthebook.com. Get my book. I talk about this in here.
And there you go. So we'll see you next week on the Business Newsroom. Take care.